The law in England says that schools have to offer a broad education. Most children are taught subjects including English, maths, science, geography and history, but not all children. A small private community of strict Orthodox Jews in London, known as the Haredi Jews, who, withdrawn from some modern secular culture, are running at least a dozen illegal schools where the curriculum consists almost entirely of religious studies. Newsnight has discovered that some of these secretive illegal schools are registered with the Charities Commission simply as charities, which gives them tax breaks. We spoke to some former pupils of these illegal schools who feel that their lives have been ruined by lack of a proper education.
So this is obviously a story out of the UK, but I've no doubt that in Melbourne, in America, in many countries in the West, there are small schools of Haredi community members who are effectively dodging the curriculum. Now, it's interesting that in Israel, the Haredi community have just won a battle to effectively scrap secular education. That's a political motivated aspect, because obviously the right-minding Western individuals would say, well, we need education and we need a well-rounded community.
I don't think there's been a clear understanding of the community's traditions and values.
This is Jeremy Arkush. He's the president of the Board of Deputies, the most senior lay leader in the United Kingdom that represents Jews. And I think he does an excellent job here in representing the facts that there are many reasons why religious Jews choose to educate their children in a particular way, and we should not outright dismiss their education system purely because of their religious behaviour.
That actually, especially in society the way it is today, with jobs and so forth, it's virtually impossible to go from being an educated 9 or 10-year-old when you're 25 to suddenly getting perhaps a job in, I don't know, in the steel industry and physics, and it means that a lot of life is not open to them.
Well, you'd be surprised actually how quickly children who may have had a particularly narrow education till the age of 16, after which they can learn whatever they like or not like, can quickly adapt. But yes, I agree with you. I think it's really important that all our children should be prepared for the life outside.
So what about the Australian Jewish community? What's the history there? And what about the leadership, the lay leadership? Here's Peter Wertheim to tell us a little bit about where the Jews of Australia came from.
The Australian Jewish community is one of the only Jewish communities, probably the only Jewish community in the world that can trace the exact date of its origin. It's the 26th of January 1788, which was the very first day of European settlement in Australia. So
as a group, as a minority group, as one of the multicultural, we've been here since pretty much everyone else, apart from the Aboriginals, have been here. So let's just put our flag in the sand to start with. And is it easier to be a Jew here in Australia than it is anywhere else in the world?
Some challenges we share in common with other Jewish communities. Problems of low-level anti-Semitism, but persistent. It's not as bad in Australia as it is in other countries, but it's there.
So what are the key issues for being a Jew here in Australia, right here, today?
Issues of communal security, which are a corollary of anti-Semitism, and funding communal security, that's an issue. Obviously our community is a very strong Zionist community. We support Israel very strongly in the public square and also privately, so that's another issue for us with the challenges that Israel faces. And also assimilation, intermarriage, a lot of the problems that are common to Jewish communities everywhere.
Intermarriage, where a Jew marries somebody who at the time isn't Jewish. It's a problem for many religious Jews because it goes against our tradition. And frankly, I'm with that up to a point. If my mother had found out that I was about to marry a non-Jew, I may have been completely removed from my family. And rightly so. If everybody's watched Fiddler on the Roof, they'll perhaps understand the emotional tugs that intermarriage brings. But one of the most famous people right now who is celebrating intermarriage is none other than Donald Trump.
Trump's children are either married to or dating Jews. All of them.
That's not a reason for American Jews to vote for Donald Trump. It's just Ezra's way of explaining that he doesn't think Donald's an anti-Semite.
The most famous of his kids, Ivanka Trump, she married Jared Kushner, who's Jewish, and she converted to Judaism herself. She actually took a Jewish name, Yael Trump. Her kids, Trump's grandkids, are Jewish. They probably call him Zadie. But it's not just Ivanka. Donald Jr. is married to Vanessa Hayden, who's Jewish. Eric Trump is married to Lara Yunaska, who's Jewish. They married under a Jewish chuppah or wedding canopy at Mar-a-Lago, an exclusive club that used to ban Jews until Trump filed a massive lawsuit against the bigots to let the Jews in. And then there's Tiffany Trump, Donald Trump's other daughter by Marla Maples. She's not married yet, but she's dating a Jewish man named Ross Mechanic. Trump has one more kid with Melania. His name is Barron. He's just 10. So it's not yet 5 kids out of 5 who were with Jews, but I wouldn't bet against Barron dating a Jew, would you?
Ezra Levant, one of the few Jewish videographers at the moment who's prepared to support Donald Trump. He has his reasons too.
All right, look, my fellow Hebrews, I know you love the Democrats because most of the time being Jewish to you doesn't really have anything to do with the Jewish religion. I mean, at least not since your bar mitzvah. In North America, to most Jews, most of the time, it means just liking Jewish stuff, like Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld and Sarah Silverman, Amy Schumer, and Jewish food and taking a few extra days of holidays. It's a vague cultural pride thing, like bragging about how many Jews won Nobel Prizes or which Hollywood stars are Jewish or half Jewish. So yeah, culturally, most Jews are a fit with the party of the liberal elites. The party of New York and Chicago and LA and trial lawyers and professors and Wall Street types, the Democrats. So it's easy to sneer at Donald Trump, that striving blue-collar billionaire. I mean, look at him sitting in those golden chairs, so ostentatious. No Jew I know would ever be so nouveau riche, right? And the way he talks.
It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. That is a huge problem.
Yeah, a noisy, mouthy New Yorker with huge real estate investments. Yeah, what Jew could possibly like a guy like that? But seriously, is Donald Trump really anti-Semitic? Every Democrat I follow on Twitter has tweeted pictures of Trump with his arm out, Heil Hitler style. I mean, of course, you can do that with anyone.
Nazi salute or a wave, you decide. Clinton versus Trump, you decide too. Well, it is a difficult call. I grant any American absolution from having to vote if they can get away with it, because it really is an awkward one. I must say, though, that what I see of being said about Trump does disturb me. The man clearly has an ego that is ginormous, but nevertheless he speaks his mind, and more so than any president that I would ever hear, because most of them are just talking from pre-prepared speeches or sound bites that they know the community want to hear, despite what actually is going on in their heads.
Hello? Who's this?
Congratulations, you're speaking to Donald Trump.
Oh, hello, Donald.
How are you, Hillary? I haven't seen you since my last wedding.
Well, I'm sure I'll see you at the next one.
Anyway, I just finished the GOP debate. As usual, it was fantastic. Everyone loved me. Now look, I know you're about to go out for your interview with Jimmy Fallon, but he's a total lightweight. So I'm going to do him a favor and interview you instead.
That's great. You know how much I love being interviewed. As long as you don't start talking over me when I'm trying to make a point.
Question
Donald.
one. You recently said, quote, Mr. Trump insults and dismisses women. But tell me, what would you do to help women in this country?
You know, Donald, I've spent my entire career fighting for women's rights. I'll push for equal pay in the workplace, for protecting women's health and reproductive rights, making quality, affordable childcare a reality for families. That's what I believe in. That's what I'm fighting for. You know, I'm really curious, Donald. What is your stance on women's issues?
Look, I know a lot of women, and they all have issues. Next question. How do you plan to get your message across to the American people?
Well, look, Donald, it's a long campaign. I'm traveling across our great nation. I'm listening to people's stories. I'm confident Americans will see I can deliver for them, that they can count on me for them and their families.
See? You sound like a robot. Bleep, blorp, does not compute. You want to win? Here's what you got to do. First, yell. I yell all the time. In fact, this phone isn't even plugged in. I'm just yelling. And you're hearing me, okay? Next, pick 3 things everyone loves and say you hate them. Watch. Puppies, stupid. Rainbows, total losers. Fall foliage, tree puberty. Are you writing all this down?
Hold on. Let me grab my pen. Okay, Donald, I got it.
I love comedy just as much as the next man. And if these 2 characters were actually genuinely funny, hey, I'd be laughing all the way to the polls if I was an American. But sadly, I don't find either of them particularly funny. And I wonder if between now and the end of this year we will actually see some serious debate in America, or if we're headed into something far worse than we could possibly imagine.